She nodded. "We followed from the gate. Then Locust came and said that she paused and then added, "But you do not seem to be in danger. What has happened?" "Much. Listen, this is important. There is trouble at an island ahead. The Baldies were there. They murdered the kin of these men. The odds are they reached there by some form of sub. Send one of the dolphins to see what is happening and if they are still there." Karwa asked no more questions but whistled to the dolphin. With a flip of tail, Tina Raw took off. Since they could make no concrete plan of action, the cruiser captains agreed to wait for Tina Raw's report and to cruise well out of sight of the faring harbor until it came. "This belief in magic," Ross remarked to Karawa, "has one advantage. The natives seem able to take in their stride the fact the dolphins will scout for us. They have lived their lives on the sea. For it they must have a vast respect. Perhaps they know, as did my people, that the ocean has many secrets, some of which are never revealed except to the forms of life which claim their homes there. But even if you discover this Baldy sub, what will the rovers be able to do about it?" "I don't know. Yet." Ross could not tell why he clung to the idea that they could do anything to strike back at the superior alien force. He only knew that he was not yet willing to relinquish the thought that in some way they could. And Ash. Yes, Ash. I don't know. It hurt Ross to admit that. "Back there, what really happened at the gate?" he asked Karawa. "All at once the dolphins seemed to go crazy." "I think for a moment or two they did. You felt nothing?" "No." "It was like a fire slashing through the head. Some protective device of the Phalana, I think." A metal defense to which he was not sensitive, which meant that he might be able to breach that gate if none of the others could. But he had to be there first. Suppose, just suppose, Torgal could be persuaded that this attack on a gutted Kyan-ad was useless. Would the rover commander take them back to the Phalana Keep? Or with the dolphins and the skiff, could Ross himself return to make the try? That he could make it on his own, Ross doubted. Excitement and willpower had buoyed him up throughout the past Tobacco-Kin day and night. Now fatigue closed in, past his conditioning and the built-in stimulant of the Terran rations, to enclose him in a groggy haze. He had been warned about this reaction, but that was just another item he had pushed out of his conscious mind. The last thing he remembered now was seeing Karawa move through a fuzzy cloud. Voices argued somewhere below. The force of that argument carried more by tone than by any words Ross could understand. He was pulled sluggishly out of a slumber too deep for any dream to trouble, and lifted heavy eyelids to see Karawa once again. There was a prick in his arm, or was that part of the unreality about him? 4, 5, 6, she was counting, and Ross found himself joining in. 7, 8, 9, 10. On reaching 10, he was fully awake and knew that she had applied the emergency procedure they had been drilled in using, giving him a pep shot. When Ross sat up on the narrow bunk, there was a light in the cabin, and no sign of day outside the porthole. Torgal, Vistor, the two other cruiser captains, all there, and Jazia. Ross swung his feet to the deck. A pep shot headache was already beginning, but would wear off soon. There was, however, a concentration of tension in the cabin, and something must have driven Karawa to use the drug. What is it? Karawa fitted the medical kit into the compact carrying case. Tina Raw has returned. There is a sub in the bay. Suppose the rovers could find a way of cutting off the power. The sea maid told us that this ship sits on the bottom of the harbor. If we could board it, began Torgal. Yes, Vistor brought his fist down against the end of the bunk, on which the Terran still sat, jarring the dull, drug-borne pain in Ross's head. Take it, then turn it against its crew. There was an eagerness in all rover faces, for that was a game the Vacaquian seafarers understood. Take an enemy ship and turn its armament against its companions in a fleet. But that plan would not work out. Ross had a healthy respect for the technical knowledge of the galactic invaders. Of course he, Carawa, even Locust might be able to reach the sub. Whether they could then board her was an entirely different matter. Now the Polynesian girl shook her head. The broadcast there, Tina Raw rates it as lethal. There are dead fish floating in the bay. He had warning at the reef entrance. Without a shield, there will be no way of getting in. Might as well whoosh for a death bomb, Ross began, and then stopped. You have thought of something? A shield, Ross repeated her words. It was so wild, this thought of his, and one which might have no chance of working. He knew almost nothing about the resources of the invaders. Could that broadcast which protected the sub and perhaps activated the weapons of the invaders ashore be destroyed? A wall of fish, sea life herded in there as a shield. Wild, yes. Even so wild it might work. Ross outlined the idea, speaking more to Carawa than to the rovers. I do not know, she said doubtfully. That would need many fish, too. Many to herd and drive. Not fish, Torgo cut in. Salkars. Salkars? You have seen the bow carving on this ship. That is a salkar. Such are larger than 100 fish. Salkars driven in, they might even wreck this undersea ship with their weight and anger. And you can find these salkars nearby? Ross began to take fire. That dragon which had hunted him. The bulk of the thing was well above any other sea life he had seen here, and to his ferocity he could give testimony. At the spawning reefs, we do not hunt at this season, which is the time of the taking of mates. Now, too, they are easily angered, so they will even attack a cruiser. To slay them at present is a loss, for their skins are not good, but they would be ripe for battle were they to be disturbed. And how would you get them from the spawning reefs to Kynad? That is not too difficult. The reef lies here. Torgal drew lines with the point of his sword on the tabletop. And here is Kynad. Salkars have a great hunger at this time. Show them bait, and they will follow. Especially will they follow swimming bait. There were a great many holes in the plan which had only a halfway chance of working, but the rovers seized upon it with enthusiasm, and so it was set up. Perhaps some 2 hours later, Ross swam towards the landmass of Kynad. Gleams of light pricked on the shore well to his left. These must mark the rover settlement, and again the Terran wondered why the invaders had remained there, unless they knew that there had been 3 cruisers out on a raid, and for some reason they were determined to make a complete mop-up. Carawa moved a little to his right, Taw between them, the dolphin's super senses their guide and warning. The swiftest of the cruisers had departed, Locust on board to communicate with Tina Raw in the water. Since the male dolphin was the best equipped to provide a fox for Salkar hounds, he was the bait for this weird fishing expedition. No further. Ross's sonic pricked a warning against his body. Through that, he felt a jolt which sent him back away from the bay entrance. On the reef, Carawa's tapped code drew him on a new course. Moments later, they were both out of the water, though the wash of waves over their flippered feet was constant. The rocks among which they crouched were a rough harborage from which they could see the shore as a dark blot, but they were well away from the break in. A 1 in a million chance, Ross commented as he put up his mask. Was not the whole Time Agent project founded on just such chances? Carawa asked the right question. This was Ross's kind of venture. Yes, 1 in a million chances had been pulled off by the Time Agents. Why, it had been close to those odds against their ever finding what they had first sought along the back trails of time, the wrecked spaceship.